Welcome everyone to the third in a series of short records management training sessions from Team IM. In this session, we're going to go through the process of creating retention categories that can be applied to the policies established by the organization. In the previous session, we developed a small sample file plan and selected one row from the file plan to set up as a records management policy in M-Files. In that session, we mentioned that it's helpful to think about the row in two parts. The first part tells us the type of documents that will be contained in the policy, and the second part tells us what kind of retention to apply to the documents that are in the policy. In M-Files, when we create a policy, we use classes and triggers properties to determine which documents will be included in the policy. We also selected a retention category which dictates which retention will be applied to the documents that belong to the policy. With just those three properties set, Records Management in M-Files will automatically assign retention to all documents across the system that qualify. There's no opportunity for a document to slip through the cracks because it's in the wrong folder. Folders don't matter in a modern electronic records management system. Today we're going to shift our focus from what we include in the policy to how we assign retention. We're going to take a closer look at a retention category and the events that a retention category schedules. As we build out the file plan, we'll quickly realize that even though there may be hundreds of rows that specify different types of documents for various departments, some common patterns or categories of retention start to appear. In our simple example, we can see how the budget and audit are both using the same retention category of 5 years after the obsolete date. In this case, both documents belong to the finance department. But we can also see examples of documents from manufacturing, engineering, and shipping sharing the same retention category of 30 days after shipment. In real implementation, it's common to have far more policies than retention categories. Before we move on to configuring records management in M-Files, we need to once again expand our file plan because it's missing a critical piece of information. Specifically, we don't know what we're supposed to do with these documents. Maybe we just delete them, but some may require approval or review prior to deletion. Some we may want to simply archive or hide. So let's expand our file plan once again so we know what kind of action we're supposed to perform. When setting up categories of retention, ultimately we need to know three important pieces of information. After what event, how long do we wait, and what do we do? Using the invoice as our example, after the invoice is created, we wait 7 years, and now our latest piece of information tells us that we delete the invoice. You can see in some cases we may want to review the file prior to deletion, or perhaps we want to have someone approve the file for deletion, then archive it for 30 days before we finally delete it. Once we have added the action column to our file plan, we are finally ready to go into M-Files and configure records management to match the information. Configuring records management starts with the type of event we need records management to schedule. Records management is really about ensuring a series of events are scheduled and then carried out at the right time. In this case, after the invoice is created, we wait 7 years and then we delete it. To schedule and execute this type of event, we need to configure it in M-Files. Specifically, we need to create an event group template. An event group template is a configuration that determines what activities will take place in our records management implementation. Event group templates are used by retention categories to schedule actions on the system and are often reused across many different document types. Taking a closer look, we can see the three pieces of information from above represented in the event group template configurations. So let's look at this in more detail. Event template names are free text fields but should answer the questions of what causes this to happen, how long do we have to wait, and what do we do. We recommend using names that are easy to interpret, such as the one we've created here. The trigger is used to answer the question of what causes this to happen. There can be a single trigger like we have here, or combinations of triggers where multiple conditions must be true before we start the retention process. In this case, the triggering criteria is that the date created is less than or equal to the current date. This means we start retention from the moment this file was created. We'll cover triggers in more depth in the advanced configuration video. The period tells us how long we will wait before we perform the action. Periods can be set for any number of days, weeks, months, years, or even fiscal years. In this case, we're waiting 7 years. Finally, we have to configure what we want to do once we reach the 7-year mark. In this case, we want to delete and destroy the file, which is one of the built-in direct actions that can be performed against files. There are several built-in direct actions that can be performed against files. If we uncheck the direct action box, our list of actions expands to include several additional assignment actions. These actions and direct actions are explained in detail in the documentation and shown in some of the sample configuration videos. For now, if we select a direct action to delete and destroy the file, our event group template is complete. One important thing to point out is that even though we've set this up for invoices, this event group template could be used for any documents we need to delete 7 years after it's created. Looking back at our file plan, we can begin to see how event group templates tend to get reused. Even though our event group template to delete 7 years after the creation date is currently only used by invoices, other templates we set up will likely get reused. As we build out the file plan, the reuse of event templates and triggers dramatically reduces the overall time needed to configure retention for the entire organization. Now that we've got our event template created, we need to create a retention category which can schedule events based on that template. Think of a retention category as the glue that holds everything together. It's also important for compliance with certain records management standards. Like the event template, the retention category is likely to be reused. Let's take a closer look at what's necessary to create a retention category. The retention category ID uniquely identifies the retention category and is often required to comply with standards. It's just a number, and we recommend giving some thought to how you will number your retention categories. For example, you might have numbers that correspond to departments, so all finance retention categories are 0 through 100, HR is 101 to 200, etc. Or you might use numbers to align with types of retention, so all retention that is automatically deleting documents is 100 to 1000, everything that requires approval is over 1000. Or you might decide that the ID isn't important at all and you just set up mfiles to automatically assign and increment a number. The retention category label is a text field that describes what the retention category will do. We recommend that the label matches the name of the event template that was used in the retention category. In this case, we are performing one action, but there are cases where you may want to use multiple event templates to perform multiple actions. An easy example is a case where you want to approve a file for deletion after 7 years and then delete it 30 days after that approval. Both the approval and the deletion would be listed as event templates, and the name of our retention category should reflect that, as it would likely be approve it after 7 years and then delete. Examples of these types of configurations are shown in the sample configuration videos. But for the sake of this introductory video, let's assume a single event template is used and our name reflects that. The retention category name gets automatically set by mfiles. It's a combination of the ID and the label. The retention category description is a free text field to describe what's happening in the retention category, and more importantly, why. The settings for a retention category will always show what's going on, but it's often useful to capture why are we doing this. So when it's reviewed in a year or two, we remember why we set the configuration up this way. Vital Reviewer and Retention Category Owner are not required. They have functionality to support specific types of records management reviews, which are detailed in the documentation. Now we're back to the event template. As previously mentioned, multiple event templates can be selected. The retention category will schedule events for each event template listed. This provides the ability to achieve complex multi-step retention processing without the need for custom workflows or scripting. Finally, if we want to retain a document forever, we simply select the Retain Forever box. By configuring a retention category to retain documents forever, we can achieve a goal where every single document in the system is under control of records management, including those that we plan to keep forever. This prevents a situation where we have documents outside of records management simply because we want to retain them forever, yet other documents may be outside of records management because they fell through the cracks. By having records management aware of every document, records managers can finally ensure compliance. Our retention category is now defined, and we can use it in our policies. The policy references the retention category, and the retention category schedules one or more events for each file in the policy. With the policy, retention category, and event template in place, our invoices are set up in records management. With one final look back at our file plan, we can see how retention gets assigned in M files. In our plan, we will set up 9 policies. With the reuse of retention categories, we will only need to set up 6 retention categories. As our file plan grows, the reuse of retention categories and event templates makes creating new policies much easier and quicker while eliminating potential configuration errors. Just as important as speed and accuracy is flexibility. Let's review how our 3 main configurations deliver unparalleled flexibility. Event templates provide the ability to respond to any metadata values on the system and come with a set of common records management activities built in. The activities can also be expanded using standard M-Files workflows. The retention categories ensure compliance with various records management standards and allow any combination of events to be scheduled for a file. And the policies provide an easy way to group any documents and objects on the system together for retention based on metadata defined in the M-Files. Working together, these 3 simple configurations give a records manager complete control over how retention is assigned to their files. In our next session in this series of Introduction to Records Management videos, we'll explore some more advanced configuration capabilities. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next session. We look forward to helping you on your records management and compliance adventure. If you'd like more information about how your organization can benefit from a modern electronic records management implementation, please contact Team IM.